to answer your automotive questions.
Thanks for joining us under the hood.
Shannon Nordstrom is not here to answer your automotive questions. He is doing business with the SEMA show in Las Vegas and the ARA and the, I don't know what else, the Apex. What's Apex? SEMA is
Product Show, Aftermarket Product Exposition. Yeah.
What's the difference between SEMA and Apex?
So SEMA, you will see more hot rods and built machines featuring equipment that would have been sold through Apex. Apex is more of the vendor thing. If I'm going there and I want to look at things for my shop, then I'm going to sell you and customers.
Okay.
I want to see nuts and bolts type things, cylinder heads, remanufactured engines, transmissions, things like that. Maybe lubricants, oils. Some of the stuff we're talking about on the show, K-Seal, things like that, I'm going to look at Apex for that.
Okay.
Now, if I want to see a bunch of fancy wheels in a hot rod room, I'll go over to SEMA. They've got wheels at both locations usually.
When we went, we didn't go to Apex at all, right? Or I didn't.
You didn't, I did.
Okay.
I was there 2 days at Apex and then 4 days over at 4 days over at SEMA, but you were just at SEMA. You bailed out on us early, but you got the good stuff anyways. For you, SEMA's the best place.
That was cool
to see. I mean, there's just so many cars. They're featuring really cool stuff. And then they also have I call it like the Apex room, but it's the back room of SEMA where they had like the body shop equipment and the welders. You saw tire machines.
The aluminum welding.
Yes.
Because it was back when Ford was turning the F-150.
Oh, yeah.
Aluminum. Yeah. That was a big section of
how we're
going to do this. Yeah.
14 on that one when you were there last. And that was, they had all that stuff. And it's hard to think about that. It's been about a 10-year anniversary for Ford with that
aluminum,
changeover.
Yeah.
And now it's just standard in everything.
866-594-4150. That's the number to reach us here at the Under the Hood Show. Let's go to the phones and talk to Bill. You're on the Under the Hood Show. Bill, what can we do for you?
Well, I have a 2013 Ford Explorer I just bought, and I was listening to your last week's show. You were talking about lockouts for VVT for like F-150s. And I bought this vehicle, and I'm putting a water pump in, and I bought it that way. I know the past history. I'm sure that they followed whatever the dash said for oil changes and stuff, but you were talking to a fellow trying to keep his son from spending a lot of money on just putting in the VVT. So I went through and I bought all the gears. I bought the water pump. I bought the chains. Usually when I go through things, I just replace everything. If you touch it, replace it. And it has about 150,000 miles on it. And I guess I was always thinking about lockouts for the V8s, but how about for a 3.5 V6? Should I, before I have that stuff installed, should I be putting the lockouts or the
good question
for the valve train? Or
we haven't seen that problem with those engines, and with the V8s, the problem is the engine bleeds to death inside. It leaks through all the journals and everything until when it gets to the phaser, it's too low a pressure to operate them. We don't see that problem with the 3.5. We see them getting clogged up and just worn. The oil passages that oil those chains and sprockets, they clog up. They're super like a pencil lead size, and they'll clog up. Lack of oil changes. They'll wear the chains, wear the sprockets, and then they fail. So if you replace all that, then you should be good. I haven't seen a second failure in one yet. I see a lot of first failures, but once they're updated, they seem to work really well. And then people want to care for them a little better because of the
cost and
the cost,
the way
and the
you
issue.
did.
What do you mean updated? Do they have like the new gears or the new sprockets and stuff I bought? They're different now.
They're updated, especially if you get Dorman Products ones. Our partner Dorman Products will take an OEM part that is known to wear like those, and they'll update them. They'll make them stronger, either stronger steel, a little different design change, something heavier. They're going to make it better so it holds up. They look at the part that wore and said, well, everything here looks great except for this here. Why is this wearing? Oh, the chain is weak. Let's change the links.
And to a degree, manufacturers will do that too sometimes.
They do as they go along, and sometimes they won't. If they know an original engine will go 80,000 miles, why would they want to update it? Let's just sell those parts again. People will go another 80 and then they'll buy a new car.
Yeah.
If I had a company like that, I'd have to make a plan. How long do we want a car to last? Do we want it to last 5 years, 10 years? Do we want to build it really strong and make it last 30 years? No, people wouldn't buy cars. They'd all be out there still running 30 years later.
What they really want is the car to last as long as the first owner wants it to last, but just barely. Right? I mean, kind of.
Whoever's going to buy that next car.
They want you to buy another one, and they want to, yeah. I mean, in general, right? Like us, we want to sell commercials on every show. We want it to work, but not work so well that you don't want your commercial on the next week.
Right. And we've had that happen with a couple of them.
I did buy all OEM stuff right from Ford, so I already have it.
Ooh.
So, I mean, I really don't want to return it. So all the stuff is factory OEM. So
that's fine too. They probably don't want you to return it either.
It wasn't making any noise. Oh no, I'm sure they don't. But it wasn't making any noise. It wasn't having any error codes. The only thing they had was the water pump leaking. But it was like, I have it apart. I'm going to put all the stuff in. It's got 150,000.
Sure.
So, but I understand what you're saying about the upgrades with the doorman. But it's like, okay, now I already bought $1,200 worth of
Should be fine,
parts.
right?
Yeah, it'll be fine.
There's two things I want to go ask you about here, Bill, concerning your issue. When we talk about this, first of all, we talk about it a lot. It's not a thing that relates to any other vehicle, any other, even Ford vehicles. We're talking about something with the F-150s and that engine, and we talk about it so much because there's so many of them, right? It's not like, hey, check your air pressure in all your cars. We're talking about, when we talk about that lockout, we're talking about a specific engine in a specific vehicle.
Right.
And there's so many of them that it comes up all the time.
Yeah, their percentage is very low for failures on those.
Not that there's not problems with other vehicles.
Right. But if you take a Ford, a Chevy, and a Chrysler and you line them up and you look at them and say, well, catastrophic failures on these three engines, you might have 1% on the Ford and 2% on the Chevy and 2% on the Chrysler. It's like, how is that possible? It seems like every Ford owner I know, I had that. It's like, yeah, but we built 1 million of these and we built 200,000 of these. So sure, it seems like a lot more because percentage-wise, there's a lot of them out there to fail.
And the other thing I wanted was that also with this, correct me if I'm wrong, with this problem specifically, it is a problem it's a problem in the engine, but it starts with the oil maintenance.
Maintenance,
I mean,
has
like
shown to greatly
in Bill's
prevent
case,
it.
if he replaces those parts and maintains it as he should, he should be fine.
May last forever for him, as long as he wants to drive the vehicle. But if he starts
letting the oil
changing it at
changes
6,000 to 8,000 miles, and I missed that one, it'll be fine. He could be looking at this again in 40,000 miles.
And I'm not downplaying the issue at all or the problem. I'm saying that it doesn't affect everyone the same.
No.
It's not just hey.
And sometimes it just happens. I've had people that never miss an oil change. I've got records for them, and it still happens.
Does that make you feel a little better, Bill?
Well, I mean, it does. And it kind of doesn't. I mean, the other people I know, they changed the oil probably whatever the dash said on that vehicle.
Yeah, right.
Into a Ford dealer.
You make a good point there.
I particularly changed it, about 3,000. So,
yep, good idea.
I really don't know about the past. Are the cams a little worn out like you're talking about in these issues? And if I have everything apart, should I be doing
Inspect
this?
it.
I didn't even think of it.
Just inspect it. Look at the cam lobes. If they don't look worn, you're probably fine. If they're horribly worn, you're going to want to pull one out and look and see what the journal looks like. But my guess is they'll be fine. I haven't seen one worn yet. When we've taken it apart, the cams have been fine. It's always been the chains and the gears and sprockets.
Bill, thanks very much for the call. Good luck. Good question, too. Good,
yeah.
A very
well,
good
it affects
question.
so many people in so many vehicles.
Right.
We're doing these in Honda CRVs all the time. I mean, it's Chevy 2.4s, the Equinox. It's chains, big thing.
866-594-4150. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we want to hear from you on the Under the Hood Show.
Find out how you can participate in the show by visiting underthehoodshow.com.
866-594-4150. That's the number to reach us here at the Under the Hood Show. Let's go to Pittsburgh and talk to Art. You're on the Under the Hood Show. Art, what can we do for you?
Good morning, guys. Thank you for taking the call.
You bet.
I'm dealing with a 2007 Ford 2500. 2500 four-wheel drive. It's a V8 engine. I don't know which model, but the crank positioning sensor is down on the lower right-hand corner, I guess in the front cover on the block. Does that sensor run off of the hub of the harmonic balancer or actually a notch on the crank?
That should be off the front of the crank. The one that goes into the front cover? Yeah, that should go. That's off the crank. This crank's now.
Okay, I got one that's broke off and stuck in the cover.
Yeah, so when that happens to us, usually what we do is it'll come out, but they can break off when you're pulling them out, you can't stick a screwdriver into the tab on the side and pry on it. It'll break off. You got to turn it sideways and kind of twist it back and forth and work it back and forth. Get yourself some PB Blaster, spray down around it and keep working it. There'll be carbon buildup around there, and that PB Blaster will break that down just like rust. It'll clean it up. And finally it pops out, and you're going to need to do that now that it's broken off, because that's not going to affect anything when it gets in your oil. You can change it anyways because you want to make sure there's no pieces in there. But we take a screw and we screw it into there. If we can get a drill in there and drill maybe a 3/16 hole in it, and then get a wood screw, big drywall screw to put in there in the center, and then we'll put vice grips around that screw, and then we'll get a screwdriver and pull it up so we're pulling right on the center of it, and we'll pop it out. But if you don't put the PB Blaster down around that, and you don't work it back and forth very gently, you're going to have pieces come. It's going to be a mess, and you'll have to pull the cover. But we've had a number of them break off, and that's how we get them out, is with the screw in the center of them. Pop them out of there. Like a potato.
I was going on the right track, so thank you.
Yeah. It's like when
There you go. Thanks,
Chris,
Art.
you like that potato in the light bulb thing, don't you?
Yeah. Putting it in there and then turning
I
it
usually
so you
just
don't...
stick my fingers right in there. I get cut a little bit.
A little bit. Or I'll take a pliers and get just the edge and then like a needle nose and then rotate the whole thing. I rarely do the correct method. You know what I mean? Especially if the needle nose pliers is right here and the potato is either at the store or even in the kitchen. I'll just go ahead.
So far, the kitchen is so far.
And I'm here. I have the needle nose right here. I can get it.
How about when you're going to take that bulb out, Chris, and it's a 3-way. So you've got 2 switches. You got one on that door and one on this door. Of course, one's up, one's down.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes both are up or both are down, depending on where you had them. It's like, is it on? Is it off? Is it now this one up, down? I just take.
No.
Ouch.
I don't mess around with it. I do the whole house.
You just go.
I hit circuit breakers till every part of that part of the house is dark, and then I put on a headlamp and I go for it.
I told my mother-in-law the other day they needed to reset one of the Ring cameras on the outside. She's like, which breaker is it? I can't figure it. I'm like, she's never going to find it. I said, see that big one up at the top that says 150?
Yeah.
She's like, yeah. I said, turn it off. And she turned it off and here on the phone. So, it's dark in here. It's like, well, turn it back on. And then it worked.
I like any opportunity to wear a headlamp, so I go for it. Does that help you out there, Art?
Yes, it did, guys. Thank you so
good.
much.
Thanks very much for the call. 866-594-4150. Let's go to Illinois and talk to Joseph. You're on the Under the Hood Show. Joseph, what can we do for you?
Well, good morning, and thank you for taking my call.
You bet.
I have a question about fuel, and I'd like to know how important is it, or is it important to buy fuel with detergent in it?
Well, all fuel's got detergent in it to a point. Top tier fuel has stronger, supposedly better detergents than non-top tier fuel. And anything containing ethanol has got a very strong detergent in it, alcohol.
Yeah.
Alcohol is an amazing cleaner. It's a solvent. It'll clean everything up. So it's very important to have fuel that's got good cleaners in it. If you really want to go top of the line, you can get a top tier fuel that's ethanol blended with higher octane and the higher detergents in there. I mean, that's about the cleanest I think you can get. There's some stations around here that I use to refuel my car and in the Camaro, and I put E30 in it, and it's that there. If I can't get that, then I'm putting E15 in, which is got a premium. You've got to have the octane is the main thing you've got to go for, but you've got to look for a top tier fuel if you can get it, even if it's ethanol blended. When you get into the 30s and above that, usually you don't get a top tier fuel because it's such a blend. It's not a product of that station line anymore. But you've got so much detergent in it already, which is, it's not detergent, it's just a solvent cleaner. Mm-hmm. It's alcohol. So yes, detergents are very important in vehicles, direct injected vehicles especially.
And what are the chances that Joseph is going to go find any fuel without a detergent in it?
Oof, I don't think you can.
Right.
They all contain some cleaners. Yeah. I think today, with the cars we have today that are direct injected, if you didn't have a small amount of detergent available in every drop of gas, these engines would come apart. As far as they'd be clogged up, they'd be scoring cylinders. You have all sorts of issues.
So like the stations where you go where it talks about their detergent and it shows it on their pump. Yeah. It's not top tier, but it's Shell, right? Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm talking about.
Invigorate or something.
That's the same as a top tier fuel type of. It's just a branding thing. Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So, top tier is a certification they use on them. And a lot of the times the manufacturers even say we recommend top tier fuels. What they're really saying is
we have a deal with
their
this
engineers
company.
are saying, hey, they're saying the manufacturer, we have a deal with this company and they've made some good stuff. But the engineers are saying we want something very good to go in here. Put the best that you can in this car. But when they say premium, it should mean premium quality, not just high octane. Because really premium means high octane to us. We go pull the pump.
Yeah.
Premium means high octane. But premium, it's like, are we getting a premium hotel room? Are we getting a premium rental car? Doesn't mean it's high octane. It means it's better quality. So why isn't premium fuel?
Does that help you out there, Joseph?
It does. I wanted to let you know I drive a 2014 Toyota Tacoma.
Sure.
I bought it new, and I'm the only owner of the vehicle. It's a 4-cylinder, and it does have 137,000 miles on it. And I take it into my local Toyota dealership for all that routine maintenance that you were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
And they always told me to make sure that I buy fuel with detergent in it. So I go to a local station here, and it does have the top tier sticker on the pump.
Good.
And letting me know that it had detergent in it. So they always told me to buy fuel with detergent in it, and I just wasn't sure which direction to go with that and just how important that was. So I greatly appreciate the updated information.
You bet. And if he's out on the road and he can't find top tier, or he can't find a Invigorate or a couple tankfuls, it's gonna be fine.
No, it'd be fine. I have to think, Chris, when we talk about detergents and fuel, if you can think about it, especially in the automotive world, somebody's done it. You know, somewhere out there over all these years, somebody's had dirty injectors and they said, you need to get some detergent fuel to clean this up. And they've put laundry detergent or something in there.
Oh,
it had to have happened.
I'm sure.
They put something in there thinking it was going to clean it, and it caused damage.
Is there any additive I can put in the tank if I'm unsure?
Yeah.
And we don't even there's so many that...
Justice Brothers makes some amazing fuel system cleaners.
Yeah.
You just pour right in the tank. When you're changing when you're changing the fuel, when you're adding fuel to it, you add that fuel system cleaner to it, and it will clean the injectors, the fuel pump, the lines, and keep that stuff like it was OEM.
And keep it handy in case you run into a situation where you're not sure. You can pour it in and
put it in. You think you're getting some poor quality fuel, put that in with it, clean it right up.
Joseph, thanks very much for the call. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we want to hear from you. The phone number to reach us, 866-594-4150. We're down a man today. Shannon isn't here, so we have more time for calls. Let's get yours, 866-594-4150. The Under the Hood Show is brought to you by Sturdivants.
Make a radio appointment each week to hear the Nordstrom's Under the Hood Show.
866-594-4150. That's the number to reach us here at the Under the Hood Show. Don't forget, you can watch the show on our YouTube channel. And if you subscribe to the show on our YouTube channel and join the Hoodie Fan Club at underthehoodshow.com, you could win a hoodie.
Like Alexander Richards. Congratulations for our friends over at Universal Technical Institute and Berkeley One Classic, celebrating 50 years of collector car coverage. Universal Technical Institute, you can find them at uti.edu.
Mm-hmm.
Welding, automotive repair, marine mechanics, outboard, inboard engine repair, motorcycles, CNC machining, all the tools you need to get a great education to know how to fix all those items.
If I got myself a CNC machine and some quality metal, could I just remake every part on my car and make them bulletproof?
Yeah, I think your car would be a lot heavier and a lot larger.
Sure.
You could make lots of stuff.
What about aluminum? Can I?
You can machine anything with plastic, aluminum, steel, ferrous, non-ferrous, whatever.
Just in my garage, I'm gonna do that.
I know some people who have CNC machines. They've had them for a long time back when they were old green screen CNCs, and they made parts. They just. Some of them spent so much time to make one little thing. I'm like, why did you spend so much time? Oh, it was cool because I could do it. And now you just scan that picture and throw the metal. It's done. Remember when we went to SEMA?
Yeah. I'd get a CNC
and they
machine.
made a CNC plastic car.
And my wife would be like, hey, did you make the parts for your new car yet? No, but look at this. This is the Star Wars Empire symbol out of titanium. Look at it. Isn't it cool? I made it. That's neat, huh? Look, here's the Prince symbol. I made it with that aluminum I bought. That would be me on the CNC. I would just be like, oh, look, I made titanium drumsticks. They're too heavy to play with, but look, don't they look cool?
Look at my wrists are giant.
866-594-4150. Let's talk to Bill in Idaho. You're on the Under the Hood Show. Bill, what can we do for you?
Good morning, gentlemen. Hey, I had a question on a 2012 Toyota Tundra. I've been following the threads on axle issues on second generation Tundras. Because I have now that it's getting cold, I'm hearing a grinding in the front, and I'm kind of leaning toward the needle bearings in the front axle, CV axle. And I see that a lot of people are replacing those needle bearings with a bushing from it's East Coast Gear Supply.
Mm-hmm.
And I wondered if you guys had come across that and what you thought of using a bushing instead of replacing it with like a factory needle bearing.
I think you're fine either way. It depends on what kind of load you're putting on it. If you've got larger tires on it, wider or taller, you've got more unsprung weight, you've got a lot more load up there, probably go with the bushing. That's why a lot of people are going to that. But you can go just as many miles with the needle bearing. I've got customers with 400 to 500,000 miles on these with the original ones in there. So I don't know why you couldn't switch to replace the ones you have with another factory one. That's what in our shop, we stick with the factory ones. And quite often, if we have a new customer that comes in that says, hey, I need these bearings replaced in the front, and they've got giant tires on there, we just tell them, no, it's not something we do. It's out there. I have one customer with oversized wheels and tires on his truck, and they're really big. They're wide. They're on a Ram truck. They're like 13 inches, 14 inches wide. They're big, and they really wear on the front parts. But I know if I tell him every 8 months, you're going to have to spend $1,000 and put wheel bearings in this thing. He's like, hey, I'm not a kid anymore. I understand it. I like the way my truck looks. It's cool. I'm in my 50s and it's cool looking, and I'm willing to do that. I don't have to argue with him about it. I just say, hey, your wheel bearings are out again. Okay, and let's do them. But a lot of customers, you tell them you got a 12-month warranty on this, and they just expect you to keep putting them in and in and in, and they're abusing it by putting that heavy stuff on there. So if you want to beef it up because you've got something heavier on there, I'd go with the bushing if I was fixing it myself. If it's all stock, I'm going with the factory bearing.
It's pretty stock. They're not the original rims, but they were an option.
Yeah, that's fine.
20-inch rim.
Yeah, that's perfectly fine. I'm
Yeah.
talking about the big ones, like if you've got
Right.
38-inch tires on there or something like, or even 35s that are really big and wide, 1250 35s. Whew, you're gonna put a load on them.
Okay. Yep. Nothing like that. It's pretty stock.
Did you have another question, Bill?
I do. I've been working on a 71 International Scout for a long time. I've had a bunch of them over the years. And I was just curious what you would recommend for a, let's say, budget-friendly fuel injection to add to a 345 V8.
I believe that the Holley Projection and also MSD both make aftermarket fuel injection that would work on that engine, that can be tuned for that. They're throttle body injection, so you're going to take your carburetor off, bolt it on, and it's going to operate on there and run. I think both of those would be just fine for that. And that's what I do. I wouldn't go too much further than that unless you're going to swap the whole engine out with an LS or something different like that. But you can stick with that. That fuel injection will be nice. It's got an oxygen sensor, so it's all runs closed loop. It's going to start up really well in the dead of winter. 0 degrees, it'll fire right up, run smooth, you'll be able to drive it. Great drivability. Miles per gallon will be better because it'll be able to adjust the fuel. It won't stink so bad when it's parked in the garage of gasoline coming from the float bowl when it's evaporating. And
A wife will like that.
yeah, and when people are following you down the road, they're not going to have the watery eyes like everybody used to do back in the 70s and early 80s.
Yep.
Does that help you out there, Bill?
Very good. Yeah, perfect. I appreciate you guys' time.
You bet. And then
Thank
I would
you.
make it look nice. I would make that Scout look nice. I'd get it running good. I'd make it look nice.
Take it to Bear
And then I would take it to Bear Jackson and sell it for $200,000. The Scouts
They
at
brought so
Bear
much
Jackson
money.
were insane. And I get it. I've never been a huge Scout fan until I saw them. And I was like, wow, those are beautiful looking. Some of them were $100,000 resto mods too. I mean, some of them had $100,000 in them. Some of them were just in good shape and went for a lot of money. That was eye opening there. 866-594-4150. Let's talk to Jake. You're on the Under the Hood Show. Jake, what can we do for you?
Morning, gentlemen. Love your show.
Thank you.
Hey, I have a 2015 Ford F150, and I got to check engine light, check the code, everything. It came back as a fuel injector, number 2 on the V6 EcoBoost. Is that something that's hard to change by yourself, or is that better left to a professional?
I think at 15, that should have the secondary. It depends on which injector it is, because I think on 15 we're already into the dual fuel injectors. You've got a direct injector into the cylinder, but then you have an electronic one that's meant to keep the back of the valves clean. So if you've got a circuit code for one of the electric ones, you could change those yourself with no problem. Changing the direct injected injectors in vehicles, you need to resize the seals when you replace them, and it's not hard to do. You buy the seals at any auto parts store. You could pick up the tool off of Amazon if you want for about $30-$40 and put them on. So it is possible to do yourself on pretty much any other car. Some of them you need a puller, but that one you can just take apart. You're just going to have to watch those YouTube videos on how to resize an injector seal, put it on. It's basically, think of you got a ballpoint pen that's got a notch in it where this O-ring, which is not really an O-ring, it's a hard piece of plastic, Teflon, it fits. You have this seal that's going to slide right over the top of the pen all the way down and past that notch. It's just going to fall off. But you need it to shrink and fit in that groove. So you've got this resizer that slides down the pen over this piece of Teflon and squashes it down equally all the way around until it fits in the groove and won't come off anymore. You got to do that on all of them, and there's usually 2 of them like that on their back-to-back, and that's what seals it. Sometimes they have an O-ring as well that's just slipped over the end. Sounds kind of weird and like it's really complicated, but it's not. You'll see it. You go, oh, that makes sense. You'll want to buy 2 sets of seals because you're going to ruin 4 or 5 of the first ones when you're practicing, and then you're going to say, oh, I got it, and you can put them all in. I got a guy at my shop who did his first one, and even after I've done dozens of them, I ruined a couple of them, and then I started putting them on. I said, okay, this is the way you do it. And I gave it to him, and I said, there you go, and he had the couple of them he ruined the same way, and then everyone was perfect after that. It's just a kind of a thing. You learn how to do it, and then you close your eyes and you can do every one of them.
They'll never have to do it again, probably.
No, probably that'd be the last one you ever put seals in.
Well, I took it to a reputable dealer in Sioux Falls, and they wanted $1,200 and change to fix it.
Well, that's possible. Yeah, if it's one injector, so you're gonna have to pull the intake off it, and you're gonna have to pull that injector out. The cost of the I think the injector's like $600 or something.
Okay.
They at full retail at like a dealer. But the gaskets for those are so crazy. I just priced out a gasket set the other day, and I just about fell over for gaskets. I was like, wow, that seems like it's absorbent, but
right.
Yeah, just look at the prices yourself, see what it's going to cost you to buy the parts. Look on YouTube. If you don't think you can do it, then you can
there you
go have it done somewhere else, but at least you gave it a shot, and if you do it and it works fine and you're all done, you'll feel pretty good about doing it. That what you've done.
I'll bring it to you. Where are you at now?
We're in Garrettson, South Dakota.
Close. Yeah, there you go.
South Garrett. All
right. Jake, thanks very much for the call. Good luck. That's I remember the first time I had to have a gasket replaced. Like I think it was a head gasket or a
intake gaskets. If I did them.
No, it was before that. And I remember being charged X number of dollars.
Didn't you do it on your Geo? Didn't you have to put a head gasket on it because it was leaking oil?
No.
Because they do.
Yeah, no. I don't remember what it was, but I remember that the gasket itself was like 80 cents.
The Cavalier. I could name all the cars you've had from the.
It was like 80 cents, and the job was like $1,000. I was like, what the heck? Now gaskets are expensive, but the job is still expensive.
So there you go, Chris. Labor to put an engine in like a 2022 vehicle can very often be the same labor as it is to put it in a 1988.
Right.
It's just, well, it's old. It should be cheaper. No, it's this. If 20 hours work is 20 hours work, no matter what you're working.
You're buying that 20 hours today.
And parts might be cheaper on the new one. Parts might be cheaper on the older one. And you just don't know.
Well, and then when you or you do the thing where you go, oh, a new engine is $8,000. Oh, well, this engine's $2,000 cheaper. Okay, it's $6,000. It's still going to be a bunch of money.
And then you look and say, well, what's the car worth? Oh, the car's worth $14,000. Right. Well, that's a pretty good investment. Yeah. Let's fix it. Even if we sell it, it's better off to fix it than to throw the car away.
Let's talk to John in North Dakota. John, you're on the Under the Hood Show. What can we do for you?
Hey, hi guys. How are you guys doing today?
Good.
I know this guy. It's the guy from last week.
I figured you guys are waiting for my call.
We just had a reference. Yeah, because you called us. You didn't leave your phone number, guys. If you're calling us, girls, leave your phone number. But and the right phone number. A guy gave me Oh, did you?
I called back.
Oh, that's right. You did. I'm looking at all the.
It was too long.
We had the other ones today. We had a guy that left like a 12-digit phone number. It was crazy. But yeah, we had a reference to your call this morning. A guy called and said, I want to know about my Explorer, about lockouts on it, because a guy called who loved his son last week. And
yeah, that's you. Oh, you're the son, right?
You're the one.
Yes, I am the son that the dad doesn't love.
Okay.
We actually got a chuckle, my dad and I, about that. It was pretty good. It was pretty good for sure. So yeah, I am that son with the 04 Ford F150 Lariat with the Cam Phaser issue. One of the main reasons why I'm calling is because I don't think my dad totally knew what was going on, and so just listened to the podcast last week.
All right, hold on a second right there, John. That's a good place to stop. We're going to take a quick break. We'll come back and we'll get the story from you.
Give them plenty of time.
Yeah. 866-594-4150. We'll be back. We'll talk to John in North Dakota. We'd love to talk to you, too, on the Under the Hood Show.
Car feeling ill? Don't want to spread it to your wallet? Call the Motor Medics now for free advice.
866-594-4150. That's the number to reach us here at the Under the Hood Show. Now let's talk to John in North Dakota. John, your dad called. Fill us in on this now.
Yeah, so my dad called because I actually had shared with him what was going on with my car, and I'd done some research and even kind of warned him that maybe this is something he might want to look at with his truck, knowing he's got a newer Ford F150. And so that kind of got him concerned, I think, and so that proceeded to lead to, his call to you guys. But at the time, when he called in and mentioned my situation, like I said earlier, I don't think he fully understood what was going on. From what I'm understanding as I listened to you guys last week, it sounded like your suggestion was put the lockout kit in if it hasn't already gone out. That was how I kind of understood it. So in my situation, what happened is I'm driving down the road, truck starts to shake really bad. I thought potentially I had a tire that was slowly leaking, and I thought maybe it went out. And so that was my initial thought. But then I looked at the dash and saw that the check engine light's blinking. So I pulled over, had it towed to my mechanic. He did the code and found that retarded cam phasers is what came up. He told me he did not want to touch it. He said he's messed with it before, had lots of issues. So I've called around to varying people. Lots of people don't want to touch it. I did find someone who said he has done many of these. And so I'm just trying to figure out what my options are, what's the best situation. My truck is obviously older. It's got about 158,000 miles on it, but the struggle I'm in is the body of it's really nice still. It's really in fairly good shape as I understand it. I'm not the smartest car guy in the world for sure, but just trying to figure out what my options are. I did find a guy, like I said, that spent 40 minutes on the phone with me. Seemed like kind of one of those older guys that's been doing it for a long time and seems to know what he's doing. I've never actually done work with him before. I'm just, what would you guys suggest? Do I junk it? Do I try to fix it? What do you guys suggest?
That truck, if it's not super rusty, it's still worth a lot of money. And we have people putting engines, remanufactured in these engines in these trucks from 04 up to 19 all the time. I've got like 1 week in, we're putting remanufactured engines. They're spending several $1,000s on here, maybe $7,000-8,000, 3 or 100,000 mile warranty. And when they look at it, they go, "Oh, that seems like a lot of money. I should junk it." It's like, well, you fix it, and then you can get $13,000-14,000 for it, if depending on the condition of it. Well, why wouldn't you? It makes sense. But if you've got an engine that's mechanically sound, but you've had the problem where the oil's not enough pressure up at the phaser to run the phaser anymore, you can put a lockout kit in it. Don't fix it the factory way, ever. I would never do that. They fail all the time.
Okay.
Do not let somebody put lifters in it and cam phasers and all that, sprockets and everything, and say, "Oh yeah, it's fixed." It might be fixed for a while. You're going to have more problems. The only way we would ever do that would be with a lockout kit. So if it was going down the road and it didn't jump teeth and bend valves, if they're not bent, if it's got good compression, no leakage past the valves, and it doesn't fail a leak down test, I would say put it back together with a lockout kit.
Does that help you out, John?
Okay. So is the lockout kit something that they do? They can just put that in, even if there's the timing system or whatever, the cam phasers aren't working, or is that
you put new phasers in it with new chains and everything, because the phaser can wear out inside mechanically, and then a lockout kit won't sit in there correctly. It'll be sloppy. So you put the new phasers on, you put the new chains on, the new tensioners and oilers, everything. And then this lockout kit is basically like somebody's throwing a wrench into the works. You're throwing a piece of metal inside of the phaser where it normally moves back and forth a few degrees to adjust that advance and retarding on the timing, and it locks it. It makes it like one solid sprocket on both sides.
So you're putting the lockout kit in addition to fixing it, not just fixing it without the lockout kit. Okay.
Right. So you're putting it all back together the normal way and then putting these in.
Okay. I did have one guy was saying that the issue with that engine a lot of times is he said it's not the piston, it's the something that sends the oil to the phasers is really small.
Yes.
It can get gummed up.
Yep.
And that's a lot of times the issue. Is that what you guys were talking about with regards to checking oil pressure?
No, it's the oilers that oil that. They'll all get cleaned up when it's done. They'll take a little wire and they'll clean them out. But then you've got 3 months, 3,000 miles. Super important on these for oil changes. Very important to keep those from not oiling and wearing out these mechanical parts. But what were we talking about, Chris?
Yeah, the oil coming in and gumming up.
Yeah, the oil pressure. Pressure so the oil pressure starts at the pump. It pumps it through all the crankshaft bearings, then goes up to the top through all the cam bearings, and by the time it reaches the phaser, which is the very last thing in the line, it doesn't have any oil pressure left because it's bled to death inside, and it's gone from 50, 40, 30 pounds, whatever, at the pump to 2 or 3 pounds up at the phaser, and it can't actuate it. It's a hydraulically actuated, like a hydraulic car jack. You have to have pressure to operate it, and if you don't, even brand new parts won't work. But without a phaser to run on the end, you're fine. You don't need that oil to run them anymore. The solenoids are closed, and you're not dropping it. It gives you more pressure to the rest of the engine because you plug in a device to the OBD2 port under the dash, and you program this thing so it shuts those solenoids off, doesn't drop the pressure, so now you've got even more pressure to the rest of the engine, and you don't have phasers that require the oil pressure. So it's better on the engine that way, and it's better on the phaser because they don't have to operate.
Does that help you out there, John?
Yeah, I have one last question, and I let you guys go.
Hurry, we got 1 minute.
Can I drive this?
As it is, running
Can
bad?
I drive it? Yeah.
Well, as long as
a couple guys say I can.
If it hasn't jumped timing, you can still drive it for a little bit. Shut it off, restart it when it starts running bad like that. And if it runs smooth, that's a good sign right there that it is the lockout kit would fix it.
That is, John, thanks very much for the call. Good luck.
And remember, even if your dad doesn't love you, the Under the Hood show does.
We do, John. I'm glad he called because I took that last week.
Yeah.
Kind of the same way in that I didn't realize in all the talk about the lockout kit and that we've done over the years.
Sure.
Because it doesn't pertain to me specifically. I kind of don't pay attention. The fact that we're talking about not fixing it the regular way, putting the lockout kit in, but that also fixes it the regular way first. So you're fixing it and putting the lockout kit in as opposed to just putting the lockout kit in. Right.
Right.
There you go. Okay, I feel better now.
Because it's
John,
probably got worn parts.
That'll do it for this hour of the Under the Hood Show. Hour 2 is coming up.
You're listening to the Nordstrom's Under the Hood Show with the Motor Medics, Shannon Nordstrom and Russ the Super Tech Evans. Shannon is an ASE engine and parts specialist, and Russ is an ASE Master Certified Technician with extensive factory drivability training. Join the Motor Medics for fun and free automotive advice with real-world solutions to everyday automotive problems. The Under the Hood Show is heard weekly on this and other great radio stations across the U.S. Find out how you can participate in the show by visiting underthehoodshow.com.
With Russ Evans, this is Shannon Nordstrom, thanking you for tuning in to the Nordstrom's Under the Hood Show. Have a great day, and remember, PTLA.
The opinions heard on this program, based on the many years of experience of Russ and Shannon, are offered for entertainment value only and as a guide to your repair needs. No claim to repair or cause is given or implied. Always consult with your own certified technician and follow all safety procedures before attempting any repair. To be a part of the show, call 866-594-4150. Under the Hood is produced by Prairie House Productions. All content is the property of Nordstrom's Automotive Incorporated and may not be used without our permission. Copyright Nordstrom's Automotive, Inc. Now, let's go under the hood with the Nordstrom's Motor Medics.
Welcome to the Under the Hood Show. We are glad to have you with us. Russ Evans is here to answer your automotive questions.
Thanks for joining us under the hood.
Shannon Nordstrom is not here this week to answer your questions. He is down at the SEMA show down in Las Vegas with the ARA. What's the ARA? The Automotive Recyclers Association?
Yeah, you got it. Nailed
Look
it.
at me. It only took me 3 years to figure it out. We do have your calls, 866-594-4150. And without Shannon, it just means we have more space for calls, so let's get right to them. In Illinois, we have Larry. You're on the Under the Hood Show. Larry, what can we do for you?
Yeah, it's great to talk to you guys. Really love your show.
Thanks.
I have a 2015 Enclave, and the dome lights won't work on it. If you open the doors or the key unlocks, they won't work at all. I've checked some fuses. I know I checked the right ones or not, but I hope you guys could lead me in the right direction.
That does have a dome light defeat button, an on-off switch for that dome light. Shuts everything off, whether you're using the key or remote or doors. Have you found that yet?
Yeah, so I've tried it. It don't work either.
Oh.
Okay.
I've tried both directions and shut it on, turn it on, and I still don't work.
All right. Well, because it's amazing how many people I find that don't even know that that button exists or the dimmer.
Do any of the other interior lights go on, or is it no interior lights at all?
Yeah, the interior lights work. Everything else works, just the dome lights when you open the doors. The dome lights will work if you push the button on the roof.
Okay.
Okay, gotcha. And they're the same bulb there. So, yeah. So if that's not working, what we do, we plug our scanner into it and we read what that dome light feed says. If it says it's supposed to be active or not. If it says it's supposed to be active and nothing's happening, then I try to turn them on manually with my scan tool with the bidirectional control, see if I can kick them on, and then I know if it's a actual problem in the module or in the switches. There's door latches that have switches in them, but I'm not concerned that those are bad, because if they were, when you unlock the door with the remote, the light would come on. Still doesn't require that latch to be operating. But you may have a problem in that body control module. It may just need to be reset. They may be able to just clear the codes out of it, reset it, and that may take care of it. Or even disconnecting the battery in the thing for about 10 minutes and hooking it back up may reset that function. It may just need a reboot, like a home computer. It may just have a thing going on. We don't see a lot of problems with dome lights in those vehicles, so I'm not expecting a lot of issue with it. I think it's just going to be something small.
Okay.
Sounds
good.
There you
Start
go.
with the battery.
Is that okay? So disconnect the battery for 10 minutes.
Yeah, on this car.
Okay. Just on this car. This is not advice for anyone else.
Nope.
This
Everyone's
is
different.
Just for Larry and his Enclave.
Yep. On this one, I'm thinking, yeah.
And then go in and let them know what's going on, and they'll take a look at it. And
yeah. It's a pretty simple circuit, so it should be able to be figured out. But if it's just my dome light's not working and they tell me I need $1,000 module, I'm like, I'll get a flashlight.
My dome light's just not going to work.
Ever.
866-594-4150. Let's talk to Mike. You're on the Under the Hood Show. Mike, what can we do for you?
I've got a 09 Chevy Equinox, and make long story short, when I turn the heat on, sometimes it really stinks. I mean, it's an acrid, and I'm not a car guy, but I think it's maybe the heater core, because I get this acrid, awful, it's like it's hot antifreeze. And truth be told, last spring, as the weather was starting to get nice, it was doing it then. And like, the brilliant person I am, I stuck my head in the sand and said, I'll worry about it later. Well, it's later. And the heat, we need the heat now, or we're going to. And the silly part is, sometimes it stinks, sometimes it does not. And I'm thinking, okay, and I was told that the heater core isn't real bad, $100, $150, whatever it is. But the labor,
yeah, good luck with that.
It's pretty well. Yeah, I mean, I guess I was told they have to take the dash off, which that's not nice.
You pull the whole thing out and lay it on the ground, and then you pull the whole case out behind it after you discharge the AC and everything, in a whole day's work or a little longer. It's a lot of work, but does it smell like dirty feet or antifreeze?
I I don't. What'd you say?
Does it smell like dirty feet or antifreeze? Like a gym locker? Does it smell like your high school locker room, or does it smell like coolant?
I think it's antifreeze.
Okay.
The thing is, excuse me, I'm not getting any moisture on the inside of the windshield. I'm not getting any in the cabin.
It's probably not antifreeze if you're not fogging up that windshield with the film, and it's not going to hurt anything to grab yourself a bottle of K-Seal. We'd put that in. Don't just seal it, K-Seal it. I'd grab a bottle of the K-Seal, the small bottle. You don't need the big one for head gaskets, but put that in because it's going to prevent future leaks and stop current leaks. So if you've got something so small that it may be even coming and going, definitely put it in there because it won't clog anything up. And if your problem goes away, well, you fixed it. You don't have to take the dash out. But if it doesn't go away, it's not that heater core because that's going to seal that small of a leak. That's exactly what it's designed to do. And we've tried that before, so we know, hey, I think this is the heater core leaking here, but I can't put it in. It fixed it. All right. And they're good. Maybe sometimes even 4 or 5 years later, they're like, yeah, now I'm going to fix it because something else rotted through on the core or whatever. But I would try that and see. But also, if you do that and it doesn't fix it, you're going to need to they make some cleaners for these AC systems to remove bacteria. And it could be a bacteria, even though you think it smells like antifreeze and not a gym locker. And you pull the cabin air filter out, you spray it in there, it's pulled through, it's drawn through the system, and it coats these cores, eats the bacteria away, and then puts a coating on them. And it eliminates some of this mold because especially if you're the kind of person that runs their AC and then shuts it off without turning it. So what I do is when I'm driving home in the summer.
Oh boy, yeah. What do you do?
On the older car, my new car does it automatically, but my old cars, I hit the AC button where I've got the button that says AC on the dash. Yeah. I turn it off like a block from my house. It stops refrigerating the system and it just blows air.
Okay.
So now it's not. Now it's not soaking wet with cold, with water. That's the condensation, and it dries. Well, the new cars, a lot of them have an afterblow feature. You turn the key off, and that fan motor will run with the compressor off for maybe a minute or two, just enough to dry it and prevent that mold. When you get out of your car, Chris, and you shut it off, your Prius won't do it, but the other one will. You walk around, you hear that under the hood, and you're like, "Was that a tire leaking? What is that?" That's your air conditioning as it's bleeding down. It's still got pressure. It's still causing refrigeration. So if you don't have a fan to blow through there, it's going to do that. BMW started doing that decades ago. Okay. And it's fixed that you don't see that problem in those cars.
Well, Mike, there's a step for you. First step, at least. Thanks very much for the call. 866-594-4150. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we want to hear from you.
Get your planner out right now and schedule your next radio appointment with the Motor Medics.
866-594-4150. That's the number to reach us here at the Under the Hood Show. Let's talk to Tony in Georgia. Tony, you're on the Under the Hood Show. What can we do for you?
Well, longtime fan, so appreciate you guys saving people thousands of bucks every single day. So I appreciate that, and that's amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah, and so I just had a question. I called in a few months ago. I've been working on it for a couple of years now, actually, and I'm not going to give up on it because now it's just a principle thing that I want to figure it out and fix it. But anyway, we have this 07 Tahoe, with this, I believe it's some kind of vapor issue with the evap system to where it stumbles a little bit upon startup, especially when it's cool in the morning and then it's warm in the day. And then in every single thing, I've even put pigtails on both ends of the system and dropped the fuel tank and checked all the lines and went ahead and put a new fuel pump in it, went ahead and put a charcoal canister in it. Obviously I have the vent valves, on both ends of the system. And then you guys said, well, I may have to swap the computer. And so I got a computer and found a shop that could program one for me. We put that in and that still did not fix it. Now here's another part of the information, or another clue that something that started happening over the last few months is, yes, it may not do that every time you start it up, but if it's low on gas and then you get gas at the gas station and you fill it up, it does it every single time. Like when when it was low and you put gas in it, and I have put a new Chevy, a GM gas cap on there, and man, I don't know what else I can do or replace. Is it possible it's part of the valve that's up on the valve cover or something. I did put in the sensor that's like in line with the air cleaner.
Right.
I did replace
Mass
that
airflow
just
sensor.
for fun, Yes. But again, this is something I've kind of been chasing over the last couple of years. I mean, once the car starts up, it runs, just you would never know difference. But something I've been battling for a while, and it has large and small leak evac codes, of course, and I can operate the valves with my scan tool, and they, I can operate them and stuff. Can build pressure in the tank. I'm not an expert at those. I'm not as good as you guys with those things, but as far as I can tell, like, it's just like, man, I cannot find an issue. I even started stripping all the coating off of from the wiring harness under the hood just to see if I could see any problems, and any wire compromise somewhere or anything. And I have not found anything like that because, we don't have any salt or rust or anything like that. And I just, man, I don't know what's the next thing I can do,
Have you replaced the canister and the vent valve under the back of the vehicle?
Yes.
Okay. Because if you fill that thing with fuel and it stumbles when you start it every time, it's got to be going up that vapor line under there back to the engine. That's really the only thing that can do that. And one thing you could try to find it, you may have a bad canister. It may just have, or not a canister, but the vent valve back there.
Well, I've already replaced it twice on the back, tried a different brand, and then I've also replaced the one under the hood twice.
Unplug when you go to get fuel, leave that cover off the top of the engine. And when you go to get fuel, take off that line that's got that green cap on it. Just push the button down and pull it loose.
Yeah, that hooks into the valve.
Yep. Get yourself one of those little red plugs that goes over the vacuum on the engine and plug that up and then start it up. If it starts up and it runs perfectly fine, that's what your problem is. It's sucking fuel through that line right after. And you could also start it up. And if it starts up fine after you refuel it like that, then take that cap off, plug the line back in, and try to start it again. If it runs horrible, that's because it's just pulling all that vapor out of that line, and you've got something going on, either electronically, computer, wiring, or that solenoid is out. For some reason, it's letting that vapor go right through there because it's not venting properly when you're filling that thing. So, if it could be in the filler
and
tube.
It feels totally fine, like it feels just fine. And I actually, when I first bought the car, I replaced the charcoal canister because it was not filling just fine, when I first bought it. This was many years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I replaced that, and it had, when it was traded in, I could tell that someone, they had tried to they did put a new, canister on the back with the little conversion kit, and they did that. And then I put another one. And then again, like I said, I've done two up at the front, and I've even blown through all the lines, just to make sure there's nothing like stuck in any of these lines that are, all the different fuel lines. And all that was clear. Like, it's just like, man, this is, kind of crazy. So you're saying plug the line that's coming up on the engine, plug the line that's coming down from under the car, going into that, into the purge valve.
That evap, right into the purge valve, that evap line. Plug it on the engine side so you don't have a vacuum leak. Also plug it on the line side, or you don't have to plug it on the line side going back to the tank. That should be fine. But then start it up, and if it starts up and runs
on the
fine.
Engine side.
Yeah, on the engine side, because you don't want a vacuum leak in case there is one. Shouldn't be with the purge valve off, but if there is, plug it up, and then there shouldn't be anything. You're not pulling any vapor. So if it starts and runs fine, the problem is it's pulling vapors from the engine. Either the purge valve is sucking a vacuum, and with that unplugged and you've got it open, if there's suction on that line, that purge valve is bad.
I gotcha. And I have good power there. I've checked that, and I went ahead and just put a new connector on there just for fun too. And then, and I've tried two different brands, of the purge valve up on the engine too. And so it's like, man, it's just, I'm, and I'm, I'm not putting, junk parts on there. I'm putting, quality name brand parts.
Sure.
I have an AC Delco one I put on there, and, because obviously those can be problems, but yeah. So if I plug those lines and then it does run fine, well, then what do I do? Because I've already replaced the computer. I mean, what else?
That's when you gotta find out what's going on. That's when you look at that purge valve in the back and you put a vacuum pump on it and see if it flows when it's not even plugged in. If it does, it's bad for whatever reason. It's not working because it's not supposed to flow when you've got it unhooked. It's supposed to be shut off. It's supposed to be shut off. So find out why it's venting, because otherwise when you fill it with fuel, it should go up the vent through the canister and out the nozzle. It shouldn't be pushing towards the engine, but it sounds like it is.
Another thing I tried is just open the gas cap for a minute and then just leave it open. Sometimes I just left it off and then just go start the car. It still does it.
Yeah, and it would too, the way that's set up. But the other thing too is verify the fuel alcohol content in the computer. Look at the scanner and see what it is, and it should match whatever fuel's in it. If it's 10%, it should say 10%. If it says 40 or 60 or 80%, it's not going to run right. You're going to have to reset that alcohol monitor.
Oh, I gotcha. And is that a physical,
it's a reset. It's usually
solenoid, or can I reset it on the scan tool?
No, it's on the scan tool because it uses the oxygen sensors to measure it after a refill. After the fuel level changes by a certain percentage, it relearns it. So look and see what it is, but you reset it with a scan tool.
Okay.
There you go. Tony, does that help you out?
I think so. I mean, I hope I can get to the bottom of this because, yeah.
I like this call. Tony, thanks for the call, because I don't have the principles to fix things like that. I would just give up on it, and this makes me feel better about it.
No, you text me until I finally said, just bring it in, I'll fix it.
Right. Yeah. That's what I mean. It's Tony's going crazy. I don't. I just turn it over to you. I think Tony's making me feel better about my indecision and my lack of go get himness. This is perfect. Thanks, Tony. 866-594-4150. Let's talk to Paul. You're on the Under the Hood Show. Paul, what can we do for you?
Hi. My mom, about 6 months ago, got a 2022 Acura MDX. Car's great. She loves it and everything. The only thing is in the owner's manual, it says to use, or it recommends, premium fuel. So
yes, it does.
That's what she's been doing thus far. Is there any other option with an ethanol blend or something? Or is this thing require premium only?
Well, they want premium, meaning they want a minimum, probably 91 octane, if I remember right, in the Acura. So you can use an ethanol blended fuel that reaches that 91 octane. It is a 22, so it's new enough. It's that it could do that. And but whatever you do, though, you've got to meet that octane. It's designed to run that octane, so the timing is at the proper place and the fuel delivery is at the proper place, so it doesn't carbon itself up and kill itself eventually down the road. Plain old fuel will work in it, but it won't work nearly as efficiently as it should, and it will carbon up and cause future issues down the road.
Okay, so would she see a dramatic fuel mileage decrease if she did run standard fuel?
Yeah, you'd see a mileage decrease, but you'd also see, the engine's going to start to get dirtier inside. It's going to affect the injectors and the cylinders and the valves, and everything's going to get carboned up after some amount of time. We got a guy that with a vehicle that we just put an engine in, a 2015, and it's direct injected, premium fuel recommended in Cadillac, and it's been running regular fuel the whole time, and it's going to need a set of fuel injectors because they're just horribly carboned up, and the engine was very badly carboned up too. When we pulled it out, it had issues. So you definitely want to run the proper fuel that the vehicle. I mean, they say, yeah, it's okay, but we'd really recommend you put this in there. They wouldn't bother putting it on there if they didn't think it was going to make a difference to them, because they want it to be the cost per mile to be cheaper for that ownership, because they can sell more of them.
Paul, thanks very much for the call. Good luck. And that's, again, something where if you're out and you're running low on fuel and you can only get 89 or 87, you can do. It should run okay, but it's not ideal for the engine, for the long life of the engine.
Right.
Paul, thanks very much for the call. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we want to hear from you. The phone number to reach us, 866-594-4150. We've got some local lines open. Give us a call on the Under the Hood Show.
Prepare to learn something. You're going under the hood.
866-594-4150. That's the number to reach us here at the Under the Hood Show. Don't forget, you can watch the show on our YouTube channel. And if you subscribe to the YouTube channel, you could win a hoodie like
Mike Murphy. Congratulations, Mike Murphy, from all of our friends over here at the Under the Hood Show, Universal Technical Institute, and Berkeley One Classic, celebrating 50 years of collector car coverage.
866-594-4150. Let's talk to Gene. You're on the Under the Hood Show. Gene, what can we do for you?
Well, my mechanic has suggested that I need 4 new tires.
Sure.
And he suggested Uniroyal tire paws.
Oh, yeah.
And I've been kind of looking at the ads and stuff for the Goodyear Weather Assurance 2.
Okay.
Which is the best? I don't drive much. And I have a Mazda 3 2008.
They're both good tires.
Model.
They're both a really good tire. I think you'd be happy with either one of them for, wet weather performance, snow, ice, dry weather, all of them. They're a very similar tire as far as performance goes. So you just got to decide what you want to pay for them. I think even price-wise, they're probably pretty similar too. But in the end, it's up to you since they're both a great tire. If you want one more than the other, tell them this is the one I want. And if they are too much compared to what somebody else wants, we will have to go to the other place that has them.
Mm-hmm.
But they're both a good tire. We've put them both on cars.
Why would a shop suggest one versus the other? Just because they
may carry one and
like
not
the
the
guy
other.
more?
Or they like the tire more.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just sometimes it's a personal preference of the person selling them to you.
Right.
It's like, hey, we like those. I mean, for your cars, you, Doug, Shannon's kid, whatever, it's like put some tires on and I get to choose the tires that go on. And on yours, we've been putting those Toyo Celsius on. They're like a winter rated tire, mountain symbol tire. But the mileage has been great. We tried 3 or 4 different brands over the years, but the mileage has been great. The traction's amazing. That's the tire we're going to get. But I get to choose. Could I put a Tiger Paw on there? Sure. Might be similar. Maybe it's a great tire. Maybe it's just as good.
Yeah.
But my personal preference is I'm going to go with that one because I like it. On a truck, it's going to be something different. But in this case, yeah, I mean, I think it's probably the dealership wanting to do that says, hey, this is a good tire. It's our preference. This is what we want to sell you. We're really not big into the other one. Sometimes there's rebates on certain ones that you can save a little money, but a lot of times it's just the preference of the person selling it. You may even go to a big name tire store out there, and that tire store may have 5 different brands that 5 different people each one suggests their own brand when they sell it. And they're not making any more off of one or the other. In this case, they might just be saying, I like this one. I like a Tiger Paw. And the other goes, no, I like the Michigan. No, I like the Goodyear.
Right.
Does
that help you out there, Gene?
Well, the only thing I was thinking about the Goodyear, they say that they have a smoother ride. And with all the ruts in Sioux Falls,
you're not going to get
the potholes.
Yeah, that's not going to help much there. The smoother ride is more like when you're on the highway at a steady cruise speed and slight little bumps with the road strips, that type of thing. You're still going to get the same bumps when you hit potholes.
Yeah,
they're going to be just as bad when you hit those. I don't see any. There's nothing other that you can do about those.
And that is something that we've talked about, where just the type of tire, the brand of tire on that specific vehicle sometimes is louder or less loud.
Oh, yeah. So
there's just no
a Goodyear
accounting for it.
On a Mazda 3 may be noisier than a Goodyear on a Prius.
Right.
Or on a Caravan.
The same exact tire might be Yeah.
It's just not. They'll say, "Oh, it's not a good tire." No, maybe it's not a good tire for your application, but
Right.
it's perfect for this one.
Mhm.
Maybe it's not so good on the all-wheel drive model of yours, but on the front-wheel drive, it is. It's fine.
But in general, for Gene, it really
It's going to be personal preference
Yeah.
on this one. I think it'd be just as good. I see a lot more of the Assurance tires
and
out there.
tires that are rated the same for mileage are pretty close on
Usually
close on
It's
price
the-
when you
it's the
get to
material.
the named brand ones, right?
Yeah, the wear
I mean,
comes from the material the tire is made
Yeah.
out of, and a lot of them it's the same company making the tire with different names on them.
It is insane. We learned that, or I learned that at SEMA, because there were 80 tire companies, but there was only 7 manufacturers.
Yeah, and what was really interesting, how about when you said, it seems like everybody I talk to with a brand new car, they're putting tires on it within a year. What's up? Do they make cheaper tires? And they said, well, funny you asked
Yes,
that, Chris.
they do. Yeah.
When the manufacturer says we need a tire with 4 30-seconds tread on it that looks like all the other ones instead of 8, you're like, but that's only half the tread. Exactly. That's what they asked for. That's what we sold them.
Because we're buying millions of these, and if
Yep.
we can save a couple dollars each one, we're going to save a lot of money.
Yeah, I did not know that. I always just
Uh-huh.
thought it was a rumor, but it was true. They said, no, we will make whatever they want. As long as they meet the minimum safety spec, they're there.
Gene, thanks very much for the call. Good luck. 866-594-4150. Let's talk to Jonathan. You're on the End of the Hood Show. Jonathan, what can we do for you?
Hey guys, I'm looking at this 2012 Cadillac CTS. Got 126,000 miles. I was just curious if you guys see them a lot in your guys' shops with major problems, or if you guys seen one with high mileage.
Yeah, we've seen them get up there close to 300, but that 3.6 engine that's in there, that V6, you're gonna put timing chains in it. It's just gonna happen at some point. That's the big thing we see. That's the most major item we see. We don't really put transmissions in them or even entire engines unless they've gone so long they've broken the chain, jumped a whole bunch of teeth and bent valves. But usually you'll get to a point where the light's going to come on, check engine light. You're going to read it, and it's going to say camshaft, crankshaft correlation. There might be some noise out of the engine when you start it. It might even miss a little bit. And then it's going to be time for timing chains, where you got to drop the whole engine and transmission out of it, tear it down, put chains on it, guides, tensioners, everything, sprockets,
Which
put
is
it
a
all
big
back
job.
together. It's a pretty big job.
Yeah.
It's going to cost some money, but then it's going to be fixed, and you're going to keep on going again.
Do you guys have like an estimated number on mileage? You guys see
No,
that?
we've seen that anywhere from 80,000 miles to 180,000 miles is where they go.
Okay. Just depends on how it was driven then.
And oil changes.
Do
and
you
things
know
like
the history of the vehicle, Jonathan?
Yeah, I got the Carfax. It's got 2 owners, very clean, no accidents and whatnot. I don't know. I just get scared spending money.
Sure. But the timing chains are something that he should think about, plan on for it. And
At some point, it's going to happen. And if it doesn't, great, you've saved that money.
Right. There you go.
Unless
Jonathan,
it already has.
thanks very much for the call. That's what I was wondering, because we were looking at a car once, and the engine in this car is notoriously fickle, but you knew that the timing chains had not been done.
Mm-hmm.
So you were like, this is a good car to get because we're gonna put the timing chains in, and then they're great. So go ahead, get this car. We're gonna put the timing chains in, and you're good to go. Same thing. If it's just been done, you might be fine. But if you know you're gonna need it, knowing you're gonna need it is fine too.
Yeah, for sure.
Jonathan, thanks very much for the call. 866-594-4150. Let's talk to Boone. You're on the Under the Hood Show. Boone, what can we do for you?
Yep, I had a question about you had that question about fuel in that other car, the 91 Octane, just full earlier. I was just wondering, my friends of mine have older cars, 10 years old, some a little older. They like to burn E85, and I just wondered, is E85 harmful to an engine if they're not designed for that kind of fuel, or after several years of doing it, is there any damages can be done to it?
You have the worst phone in the world, Boone. Yeah. I'm going to take you off air there.
Yeah, for sure. So if you've got a car that is 2001 and up, they're certified to run E15, E10, E0, E5. You can run all those in there. They're not certified to run E30 or anything higher than that. E85 in our part of the country and in most parts of the country is going to be around 50, 55%, somewhere in there, of fuel. It's up to 85%. You get in some areas like Wichita where we're on down there, and they actually have 85%. And a lot of the racers know it, and that's what they use in hot rods they build for that. But in most cases, it's going to be about 50%. Now, a lot of cars will adjust. They'll adjust to a point, but when you get running 50% with the 85, you're almost always going to get a check engine light. If it's not turning the check engine light on, that computer is able to adjust for it. And it just says it'll run leaner and leaner the more alcohol you put in that fuel. But it may be able to dump enough fuel in it and not turn the check engine light on that it's fine if they're running E85 in there. But it's hard on it because it can't adjust anymore. It's to the maximum one way. It just can't. It can't change that. Basically, the jetting is changing if it was a carburetor, but it's dumping as much fuel as it can in there. And you're losing efficiency because it's not designed for that. The closer it is to a zero fuel trim, the more efficient it's going to be. It was designed for that, and the car will get much better mileage. With the savings you're getting on that cheaper fuel using E85, you got to look and say, well, how much per mile am I saving versus how much less miles am I getting out of a tank of fuel? Because if I'm getting 140 miles less out of a full tank of fuel because I'm running E85 versus E15, but I'm spending 30 cents less on it per gallon, how does that pencil out? Is it about the same? Then you might as well use the regular fuel in it,
right,
or premium. But that's the main thing. But yeah, you can, if that check engine light's coming on, you're causing damage. It's running too lean. The computer can't adjust enough for it, and it'll score cylinders and damage valves and things like that. So the best safest bet is just don't run it. Not that much.
In Boone's case or anyone's case who's listening, if this is new to you, if you don't have a handle on what we're talking about, don't do it.
Right.
Right? I mean, definitely just in general, if you have a flex fuel vehicle, you can do it.
Right. And I've got a non-flex fuel vehicle that requires premium, and I've been putting E30 in it for 7 years now.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't cause a problem. And I don't have a check engine light. And when I scan it, it says it's plus 10%. It's getting extra fuel. That car can go up to 30% that I have extra fuel safely. So I'm not even a third of the way in enrichment. If I was closer, if I was like 28 and 30 is the max, I'd be like, no, I'm not going to use that. But where I'm at, it's perfect. I get the octane. It's not causing any harm. It's fine. But that's me, and that's my choice. I understand how to look at the system and see how it's working. And all mechanics could do that. But for you on your own, definitely don't put that type of
very
fuel.
Very generally. If this is not a conversation you're following, don't do it.
And a lot of people may have a flex fuel car and not even know it. So if they've been putting E85 in and they have no light and it's running fine, chances are it may have been a flex fuel car. You need to find out. Get on the internet, put your VIN in, and see if it says it is or not.
Otherwise, just
don't do it.
Don't mess with it.
Don't do it. Do it.
We're going to take a break. When we come back, we want to hear from you. 866-594-4150. You're listening to the Under the Hood Show.
Be sure to visit our website for news, contests, and previous shows at underthehoodshow.com. Welcome back, everybody. It's time to get back under the hood with the Motor Medics.
866-594-4150. Let's go to West Virginia and talk to Chester. You're on the Under the Hood Show. What can we do for you?
Yes, sir. Thanks for taking my call. I have the 96 Chevrolet SS Impala. I've only got 28,000 miles on it, original miles. And I guess it sets more than it's driven, but I was driving it to a cruise in the other night. The check engine light come on. Well, I read the codes, and it had a P0420 and a P1441. Now, 420 says it's the catalyst system efficiency below threshold bank 1. I'm just kind of wondering what's going on. I mean, it's running fine. There's no back pressure or any restriction on that in the exhaust system.
That's good then. You've got a car that's running well. There's no back pressure. It's not going to hurt the engine. You're fine there. What it's doing, though, or not doing, it's not converting the gases coming out of that exhaust. So it's polluting. It's harmful for the environment, not harmful for the engine. So if you drive it the way it is, it's not going to hurt the car. It's just not going to pass an emissions test. And it's going to have a check engine light on, and it's going to be more harmful for the air than
polar bears will all be dead.
Yeah, there you go.
Mm-hmm.
Unless it was operating. So that's what you're getting. And we see that on many cars. We replace a lot of catalytic converters, and they're not built nearly as strong as they were. This one here, 96, it's still operated until just recently. That's pretty good because newer cars, they don't last that long. We're seeing like we replace those things when they get to be around 10 years old or so. It's just a normal item, especially if something else fails on the car. Like if you get a head gasket that's leaking a little bit or the fuel is off, fuel trim's off, you'll burn that converter up pretty quickly. And a lot of these have 4 or 5 converters on them, depending, if you might have 2 pre-cats and then 2 regular cats and then downstream cat. They can get super expensive putting these things on cars. So your old one, you could put a universal one on there. Because as long as you buy a good quality one, like a Walker or something like that, MagnaFlow, you can put that on.
Got one, doesn't it?
Just one big one on the passenger side there. But if you replace that, you can get one that has more flow, so you get better performance for the car. But also, it's going to shut that light off and operate like it should.
So he wants to. He does want to fix that, right?
I think you want to fix it for a couple of reasons because of the pollution aspect. The check engine light's going to turn off. Plus, you can gain a little performance out of the car by doing it. So you got 3 things going for you there by replacing it. And 4, it's not nearly as expensive as the new cats. It's a universal cat. It's a weld-in. It's going to be cheaper than what you're going to spend like on a Traverse or something.
It is a weld-in.
Yeah, it's going to be a weld-in. If you buy a bolt-in one, it's going to be a little more money, but you're going to end up with weld-in anyways because the front 4 bolts on that flange will come out, or you'll drill them out or cut them off and put new ones in. But the back one, you're going to have to pry that exhaust apart to get the converter out. So you're going to want to slice the pipe and put it in there. Now, they do make some great band clamps now, these stainless ones that you cut the pipe, take the converter out. If the new converter is a couple inches longer, you bolt it in there, and then the 2 pipes are just butted up against 2.5 inch, 3 inch pipes. They're right up against each other. And then this band clamp goes around the outside of it, and you torque it down, and it holds it. It holds it place, seals it up. It's great. You don't have to do any welding. It's not a slip joint. They just butt together and clamp down. That's great. If you can do that, then it's an at-home project.
Well, the code said catalyst converter. I was almost thinking it could have been an oxygen sensor on that side too, on bike 1.
It's possible. When we put converters on, you're going to want to do both the oxygen sensors on that side, the one after it and the 2 in front of it, because if they start to fail, the fuel trims get off a little bit, and then they can kill that converter.
Is there any reason to do those first to see if that solves? Okay.
Sure, you can, but you're going to put them on afterwards anyway, so you might, or while you're doing it, so you might as well put all 3 of them in and see if it changes. But likely, it's a 96. That's probably not working anymore. It's got a lot of years on it.
Chester, thanks very much for the call. Good luck. 866-594-4150. Let's go to Texas and talk to Steven. You're on the Under the Hood Show. Steven, what can we do for you?
Hey, guys. How are you? Thanks for taking my call.
Good.
You bet. Go ahead.
So I have a 2017 Ford F250, and my question is, or my deal is the truck, anytime it rains or if I even go through a car wash, it gets like a musky odor like stagnant water. I initially thought we have a boat where we frequent the lakes here. I thought it was just us coming in and we were wet and I have little girls and they jump in the back and everybody was wet. But we have the WeatherTech mats, and so it was I would take the water out. So I figured it wasn't that. It was, and I started just kind of seeing when it happened. It was always when it rained, and so I thought it was maybe the cabin filter. So I had that changed out, but nope, it's still. The other day I went to the car wash, and when I came out, I could smell that odor again.
Yeah, cabin air filter is part of it. It also might need an AC box, a cleaning. That box may have bacteria in it. So when the rainwater goes down, some of it gets in there, and then it runs out that AC drain on the bottom. That drain might be partially clogged up where it's holding a little bit of water in there. It's a little stagnant, and it just has that smell. I would start by having a shop clean that. Make sure the drain's free and clear, draining like it should. It's all empty, and that they've sprayed the cleaner inside that's antibacterial to clean off everything on that grid in there. I would start with that.
Okay, cool, man. You said it was the AC box?
Yeah, the AC box. They make AC Pro makes a cleaner to clean that out. You spray it in there. It's a disinfectant. It goes in where you can either pull the cabin air filter out and spray it in there. It's going to suck the air in there, or you can put it in the air inlet as long as it's on outside air and suck that down in there. I like to put it on recirculate so it's pulling from the inside of the car and spray it right in the box where the door is open. You can hear it roaring in there. Just put that thing on high and spray it in. It's going to come in and keep your face outside of the car because it's going to go right in and go right back out.
Yeah, right into your face if you're sitting there.
Right there. So,
Stephen, thanks very much for the call. Good luck. Why don't cars anymore get big holes in the floor and you can see out?
They do.
Do they?
Oh, yeah. Like 04 to 08 F-150s, we see them with like a 6-inch, 8-inch hole in the passenger side floorboard all the time. Cars that have leaky windshields. People who don't use good floor mats. He mentioned WeatherTech floor mats, and we don't advertise for them. Not like we haven't tried because so many people could benefit from them, but they just don't want to do it. So boycott them, right? No. Anyways, the WeatherTech mats, I like them because it's basically you got like a little mini pool on your floor. You put it there, you put your snowy feet in there, it melts, it's in and then you empty them. If you don't empty them, it's going to spill over and get onto the carpet. But you empty out, and they make a lot of other companies make those floor mats too. I can't think of any right now.
The first time I saw WeatherTech, I thought, oh, that's good. And they're laser measured. I was like, oh, neat. That's neat. And then I looked at them, and they're super expensive.
Oh, yeah,
and I was like, that's ridiculous. And then I got a car that already had them, and they're a difference maker.
Oh, yeah. And they keep the carpet dry.
Fantastic.
If you empty them, but you don't want that. If you think about it, salt water on a wet rag held up against your metal floor on the bottom of the car, it is going to rust, and it's going to stink. You pull that carpet up, it's just going to not smell like new again. But if you got good floor liners, whoever, Husky makes them. That's it. Husky's another one that makes them, and then there's like 10 others, I think, at least.
Sure.
But you put those in there and keep the water from getting on the floor. And if you're going to the lake, put those on the floor as well. Like he said, if you're in an area with no snow, some kind of a floor liner.
Huge difference.
And they make lots of them. I mean, like we've got them in our Tahoe. I've got them in the front. I got them in the middle. I got them in the back. I got them in the cargo area.
And that's the thing. The WeatherTechs, they just fit in perfect and you don't even notice them. That'll do it for this hour of the Under the Hood Show. Thanks for joining us. You can always find us at underthehoodshow.com. All right, this is the after show. We've got some calls to handle here, so let's get to them.
Keep them coming.
Let's go to Louisiana and talk to Kelly. You're on the Under the Hood Show. Kelly, what can we do for you?
Good morning, gentlemen. Thanks again for the call. I called about 3 weeks ago about the 2018 Honda Pilot asking about the fuel additive, and you recommended Justice Brothers additive, so thank you for that. One of the things I think, Russ, oftentimes people see Louisiana as L.A.
Yeah.
And, they were asking about how costly the fuel was. It's
I remember that.
Yeah, we were talking about that after the show. We're like, oh, is that guy from L.A. or is because we get calls from L.A. too?
We're the first L.A. So, but no, here just point of information: the gasoline here, 87 octane is $2.74 a gallon. So I would imagine in Los Angeles it'd be a little bit
What-
higher than that.
What was the price 3 days ago, if you noticed?
Like I said in my first call, I usually don't pay attention to that stuff because
you need it.
I can't control it. So I just, I go to one or two service stations. I don't travel very far. But another thing, you all mentioned top tier fuel, and by the way, there's a website for that, and I can put in my zip code, and it
TopTierFuel.com or Gas Buddy.
TopTierGas.com. That's right.
Yeah.
So, was a tool I never even knew about. So again, thank you for that. The questions I have too. Back to the 2018 Pilot, 75,000 miles. In listening to your show, you were recently talking about getting transmission fluid changed out.
Yes.
What do you recommend with this 18 Pilot, 75,000 miles? What do you recommend, and where would I have it done?
I would change that at about 80,000 miles. And you should be able to do it at about any competent shop you normally go to, not the dealership, just regular, when you're fine at a regular shop. You could go to the dealer if you want. Sometimes it just depends. If they're the kind of dealer that wants to take care of you and your car, they'll say, yeah, we'll change that for you, even if it's not in their recommended fluid change interval. They'll give you a price and you can do it. But other dealerships, they'll just flat out refuse and say, nope, it says not to do it, so we're not going to do it. And they're following along the lines of cost of ownership per mile and all that, and they just don't want to do it. So it's like, well, that's fine, I'll do it. But you should be able, if you go to a independent shop that you normally frequent, they should be able to do that for you. And it should be a drain and fill on that one, not a flush, where they're going to drain it and change it, run it through the gears, and sometimes change it twice, as if that's what the recommendation is in the service manual. But I would look at about 80,000 miles. That seems to be about when we're changing those fluids on these vehicles.
Good deal. Similarly, I have a 2022 Tacoma. It's my vehicle. I bought it in December of 21 when the chip crisis, and it was hard to get vehicles.
Sure.
So, with Toyota, for the first 2 years, you get free maintenance on, oil change, tire rotation, blah, blah, blah. And I went in right before the 2-year mark. I only put about 6,500 miles a year on this thing. It only has just turned 20,000 miles. So basically to and from work with the occasional weekend project to Lowe's or Home Depot. But when I went in to get the last oil change, the last quote unquote free oil change, the guy said, you don't need to do it that frequent, because I hadn't hit the 10,000 mile mark. Again, listening to your show, it sounds like y'all have said, don't wait till 10,000 miles, even on the new vehicles.
Yeah, they can tell you that at the dealer. I mean, that sounds great, doesn't it? You only have to change it every 10,000. Oh, wow, I don't have to. That's an expensive oil change. I don't want to do that. But what's their warranty? 3 or 36,000 miles? What do they care when it hits 36,000 miles? You're out of warranty. They're off the hook. And
so what do you recommend?
Well, we would recommend closer to the 3,000 mile on those. From what we see in those engines, they're pretty dirty at about that point. If you're going to be on the highway a lot with it, and you end up putting 4,000 miles on it in a month or a month and a half, 2 months, then you might be able to go 4,000 miles on it. It's definitely not going to be 4 months, but you could go 4,000 if you're only on the highway with it every day on long trips. We've got a couple customers, and they're putting way over 5,000 miles a month on them, and they're still, they can look clean at 5,000 miles because they're on the highway only. That's 98% of their traveling.
Okay.
So you can go longer.
3,000.
Yeah, you got to monitor your oil. Mm-hmm.
I'm planning on keeping this vehicle a long, long, long time. So,
and Kelly, in his case, it's even more important because he's driving it so little that 3,000 and that 3,000 miles won't be that often.
No,
So this is even more important that he does that. Then,
for
right?
sure. For sure.
Does that help you out
By the
there,
way,
Kelly?
for Chris, Chris, and I had a 2010 Prius that when I gave it to one of my daughters, had probably I had it for 12 years and maybe 175,000 miles on it, and the dealership was doing every 10K on that. But man, I love those cars. I couldn't find one in December of 2021 because of the chip thing.
Yeah.
But great cars, man.
It has been, we're on our second one, and it has been just the perfect vehicle for us. Just perfect.
Well, I had the Prius with a Harley Davidson sticker on the back, and people were like, "That doesn't go." And
Just
I'm like,
confuse
"Sure it does."
people. Yeah.
Thanks. Enjoy the show, guys. I really love the decision tree that you go through, and when people are giving you problems, and it's just fascinating to listen to. So keep up the good work.
Kelly, thanks very much for the call. 866-594-4150. Let's talk to Daryl. You're on the Under the Hood Show. Daryl, what can we do for you?
Hey, two questions. The first one's pretty quick. What do you guys think about O2 sensor extenders?
Extenders?
Yes.
Why would you want to extend it? Are they claiming they're going to get better fuel mileage by doing that?
I think it's they put them in there to fool the O2 sensor into not picking up as much whatever.
Yeah, you're talking about putting it
whatever.
in the downstream position to prevent it from giving you false codes giving you codes for the catalytic converter.
Yes.
Yeah. You could put those in, and yes, it will give you a more. So the front two sensors should be switching a lot, fast and often. The downstream ones will be pretty steady, indicating that the converter is doing its job, and there's no gases everything's burnt when it goes through. If it's unburnt, you're going to have the same switching on the rear. So they put these extensions in, and they'll claim two things. Either they'll say, well, yeah, it fixes your converter problem, or it will also cause it to give you better fuel mileage depending on where you place them. And the claims of the fuel mileage I don't see ever work. But yeah, I've seen people cheat and do that so they can bypass that catalytic converter.
Would you do it? Would you recommend it?
No.
Okay.
No, I'd just fix it the right way. I mean, it's something that it's like a Band-Aid that makes it work.
All right,
Yeah,
Daryl,
it's
there's
down there taking it out anyway.
there's question one.
Okay, so I've got a 98 GMC K1500 heater issue. I can usually not get any heat out of it, but of course now it's blowing hot air. It would only blow cold air even on heat. So I switched out the thermostat. That didn't do anything. So did some research on it, and what I'm finding is that it might be a blended door actuator. But I know there's two of them on these. Which one?
Has it got dual zone heat in it? Does it have left and right heat on it?
No, just the one.
It's got one. It's only got one actuator for the heat behind the glove box. So that controls is on the top there, and that controls the hot and cold. It has more actuators for other things.
What's the other one right above the
Gas pedal
for them?
That one controls the foot to face to defroster.
Okay.
Yep, and then there's a recirculation door motor way over on the passenger side too. I have one of these trucks that has that in that. And that left one's got a cam on it with a bunch of actuators, and that thing's a nightmare if you take it apart and break it. So you just leave that alone. Put the temp door one in, which is on top. Pull the glove box out, and it's on the top of that air box on the right side. That goes hot to cold.
I tried resetting that actuator.
Mm-hmm.
They say disconnect the negative, let it set, and then just after you connect the battery, just turn it on. Don't start the engine.
It'll
just
reset
turn
itself.
it on and let it sit, and it should reset itself.
Right.
And it did for a while. It was blowing warm air, then it went right back to cold air. And now I noticed today, now it's blowing warm air again.
Sounds like the actual actuator is bad, and it's just can't feed back to tell you what position it's in. Now they do have problems with the dash control as well, but usually it's that actuator that goes bad. And
Daryl.
Dorman Products carries that.
Daryl, thanks very much for the call. Good luck. 866-594-4150. Let's talk to Scott. You're on the End of the Hood Show. Scott, what can we do for you?
Hey guys, how you doing?
Fantastic.
Good. This is the first time I've called in. I've got a lot of questions on other vehicles, but I got a neighbor who I push snow for, and her husband died, and she didn't have a lot of money, and so she had this 2008 Acadia, GMC Acadia, that was just sitting there, and I said, how do you have all these vehicles? And she said, well, that one's scrap. And I thought, well, I'll take a look at it. And I'm a neighbor, and I brought it over, and everything works on it. So I was kind of confused, and so I took it to Prostrel and Madison. I'm in your area, by the way. And they went through it, and they said it needs a timing chain, rear evaporator for the air conditioning, the amplifier for the radios out, just little things. I mean, and the rear control arms. And I looked into parts, and the rear control arms are about $129 on Amazon. The air conditioner doesn't bother me right now because it's winter or whatever. But it's a really nice vehicle. Nothing wrong with it. Leather seats. It's got everything. And I drive a 94 Blazer, and this is a way step up for me.
Oh, yeah.
So I was just thinking about putting money into the amplifier in the Acadia and fixing the rear control arms. About $229 is what I kind of figure if I do it myself. Do you think I could just leave the timing chain? All you can do, you stand outside and you just hear it a little bit, but it won't affect the engine that I can tell. I mean,
it will.
I just drive it till it dies.
Yeah, it's going to explode, and you'll need an engine. If you hear it rattling, it's ready to jump at any second, and especially on a cold day when you start it up cold, it will jump. If it's rattling and the engine runs great now, that vehicle is still an 08, even in good shape. It's probably worth close to $10,000. You know, just look and see what they're selling for, and you'll know. But if you see that they're selling for 10, and you need to put timing chains in it, the engine has to come out. You might spend, $3,600, $3,800 at a shop to have those done, but then they're done, and you got a good vehicle that won't be scrapped. But if you lose that engine, you're going to spend a lot more than that to put an engine in it.
Well, Russell wants $4,000 to do that only, and then I added all the other stuff up, and it was like $6,000.
Yeah, and we do.
And
we do those, and we're less than that. I mean, that just makes sense. But dealerships should be more. And then the other dealerships are even more than that around the area. But you definitely want to do those timing chains before there's an issue, before the issue happens. And then, you could drive it for a long time.
Yeah, my wife's saying it's junk. But I'm thinking, well, everything works. If I put a couple hundred in, drive it, who knows how long.
Well, you might. I mean, it might leave you stranded somewhere if the timing chains go out, but you could also drive it for another 10,000 miles. Who knows how? I don't know how bad it is because I haven't seen it, and everyone acts differently when they go. But again, it's a good vehicle. If you go buy one that's not junk, what's it going to cost you? Well,
Right.
$10,000. You're going to go, oh yeah, I bought one that's all together. But what kind of shape is it in? Has it had timing chains done? No, but it runs great. For how long? A day? A year? 2 years? Maybe you start it up and you don't get out of the driveway and the timing chain goes out. You just don't know on those. But if you buy one and you do put a timing chain in it and you fix those control arms, now you got a car that's
you know the history
running
of,
and fixed, and you know what's in there. You don't have to question. If you want to get on the highway and take it on vacation somewhere, you feel confident that it's going to be in good shape.
Scott, thanks very much for the call. Good luck. That's the question, isn't it? That's the question we answer with every call right there.
Mm-hmm.
That's the big question. Is it worth fixing or is it not? That's kind of
I got a vehicle
the whole thing.
I'm not going to fix when the next big thing comes up, because the only reason is because the body has become so rusty
Mhm.
that it's becoming unsafe. I've been having to make repairs to mounts and things in order to keep it going, and I got a balancing act between mechanical and rust. But it's at the point now where I don't feel safe. If it didn't have a full frame under it, I would have got rid of it by now, because I don't want the rust will compromise the safety of the structure. And that's the point where you say, oh, okay, now it needs a transmission. I'm not going to put transmission in it because it's the body's not
right,
or it's going to outlast the body. So away it's got to go, and it'll just be scrapped. That one will get crushed because it's just old and rusty. It's got cancer. It's going.
All right, there we go. That's the Under the Hood show with no Shannon.
That's 20 calls. That's enough.
Next
We're
week,
good.
we'll be ready to go. Let's go. We'll see you next week. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching
Get
the
your
Under the
calls
Hood
in
show.
now.
All right, let's go. Let's get out of here. Come on. We're getting out of here?
Bye-bye.
Okay.